Hi guys, this is Otto from Growth and Mastery, and today I want to talk about how to overcome self-pity. And this is a subject that comes up a lot with some of my friends and some of my family actually that I recognize. And recently a friend recognized that and she wanted me to ask to talk about this. So how do you overcome self-pity? Well, what is self-pity in the first place? It's that talk about, I'm just not good enough, or I'm not smart enough, or I don't have anybody in my life. I don't have a husband, I don't have a wife. I don't have anybody to take care of me, or I don't have anybody to care for. Things like that. That is self-pity. That being said, let's recognize something, okay? Recognize the self-talk. So that's the very first thing that I'm going to suggest is self-talk, and I'm going to talk about it in a second. The second thing is, I made some notes here, is smiling, this power of smile. Third thing is focus on the good stuff. And the fourth thing is appreciate what you have, some gratefulness. So, what about the first one, the self talk? Well, just like I expressed what self pity is all the talk that you have for yourself. The self talk is something that I recognized a long time ago when I suffered from depression, and whether I said it aloud or in my head over and over again about how bad my life sucked. And I never realized until I travel a lot, and of course I've been to places where war-torn countries while I was in the military, and how some people just had a huge smile, which brings me to the second point. A smile is very, very powerful. But they would smile and they would have very little for themselves. They have lost everything. There were people who were, some of them were have a lot of money, some of them were middle class, for example, and they were living in makeshift tents. They were refugees from this war. They lost everything. They couldn't go back to claim any of their things or their homes or anything like that because a new regime had come back and taken all that away. I came to realize that some people recognize that there's still things in their lives that are grateful for. They have their family still together. They have their friends. They have, at the very basics, you have air to breathe. You have food on your table. You have a roof over your head. Those are the very basic things. We have so many things to be grateful for. What do we focus on? It's just that. And when we change our self-talk, we recognize that there's an exercise out there about changing or recognizing that negative self-talk that we have, writing it down, and then coming up with, well, what is a positive self-talk? I'll make a video about that later. And you start practicing the positive self-talk, and it's a practice. It's like exercising and building muscle. That's what it is. Smile. Some people say and I really recognize this, smiling first thing in the morning. You're waking up and you force that smile. Okay? And what that does, okay, even though if you don't feel it, because I used to do that and I force a smile in the morning and like, I don't feel it. But it exercises those muscles. But you know what happens? The thing that really helps is when you go and you're in front of people and you smile around people. You don't have to smile at people, but if you are walking across a room where there's people around, and what happens to me is I go around walking at work and there's several people, and I just walk around and somebody happens to glance at me, you know, 8 or 9 times out of 10, somebody's just going to look at me and smile back. Even though I'm not looking at them and maybe we glanced eyes, they're going to smile back and they're going to say something. If I'm not smiling, if I have a straight face, they'll go about the business. Okay, they won't say anything. But smiling really, really changes things, changes the environment. It really does. And people say, "Hey, how you doing, Otto? How's it going?" And I'll pipe back saying, "Hey, oh, hi, George. Really great. I had a great weekend. How about you?" And it really just has an effect of a synergy in 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 the conversation. It really is like magic, okay, and it makes you feel good as well. If they're smiling, you're smiling, you're starting to forget your problems. Which brings me to the third point: is focusing on the good stuff. Okay, when you are recognizing your problems, you are focusing on your problems. Yes, you have problems, and sometimes it helps to write down your problems so they're not this big jumble of problems that you have in your head and you're going back and forth and repeating them and then you forget, but you know there's something back there. And every once in a while, oh yeah, you forget. And then you start adding more and more things to those particular problems. You start adding even more problems. You start to catastrophizing everything in your life. Okay, some of the items that you may not that may not truly be a problem, you start adding those items and minor items too. It's like, oh well, this happened and that happened too. You start adding all those problems up because you're practicing just focusing on problems and having problems in your life. Problems will always be there. Okay, life will always happen. Okay, no matter how well your life is set up, how rich or how well to do you are, or just how healthy your family is, something will always happen. Okay, it's the law of the universe. So what are you gonna do with your life? Are you gonna focus always on the problems because it'll be a never-ending drama and a never-ending heartburn? It's no good. I think you recognize that. Are you gonna smile in your life? You realize how those people who are always smiling in their lives, they always seem to be happy. You realize that they have issues too. They have problems in their lives too, but they choose to look at the world and force themselves to look in the world in a positive way. Focus on the things that they do have. Okay, focusing on the things that they do have. Like I said, the very basic thing is I can still breathe. Hey, I can go have a glass of water if I wanted to right now. I don't have to go walk miles to get water off a river like a lot of people actually do in this world. Still go for miles to get a big bucket of water, bring it home. I don't have to do any of that stuff. Okay, I don't have to go hunting for my food. I don't have to trek through the jungle to get to work. I have a job. There's a road made for me where I can travel for miles to get wherever I want, to see family, friends, to get to a particular job, to work or anything. Go grocery shopping. I don't have to harvest my food. I can go to the grocery store and buy some food. How amazing is that? Our ancestors didn't have that. And we have a lot to be grateful for that we forget about. So the next one would be appreciate what you have. Well, I just talked about that. It all intertwines with each other, right? Appreciating what we do have in life. And being grateful, not only recognizing what's good in our lives, but being grateful for it. I am grateful that I have a healthy body. Well, healthy, I have sometimes back pains and knee pains, and I had some surgeries on my knee, and sometimes I'm in pain. But you know what? I can still walk. I can still, when I'm not in pain, I can still do things. I can still enjoy my life. I can still laugh with friends. I can still have a conversation. I can still see the beauty of the world. I can still hear the beauty of the world. I can still do a lot of things. I can still talk to you guys right here. I can still buy a little camera that I can talk to you guys and share life experiences. So that's what I have for you guys. Let's see what I talked about. I talked about the self-talk. Self-talk is all that self-talk. If you have negative self-talk and you talk about, well, my life sucks and I don't have enough money and all this, well, I put a video out there about turning those self-talk into positive self-talk, and you turn it into a positive thing. You can be self-aware about it anyway. Smile. Try to smile. In the house, nobody's around. Yes, it forces your muscles to get to the practice. But in front of people, you start smiling, and it just really there's an energy about it, and it really does come back to you, and it feels good. It really works. Okay, focus on the good stuff. What's good in your life? What is good? Yes, you have some problems, but remember, there's always good things in life too that you can focus on. And at the end, appreciate what you have. Not only focus on the good stuff, but then give thanks. Oh my goodness. Be thankful for it. Be thankful for all this stuff. By the way, guys, when this friend asked me to talk about self-pity, I didn't come up with any of these answers. I asked her, hey, well, what do you think the answer is? And she started coming out with it, even though she was feeling low and down and depressed and all that. Once I was empathetic and I asked her, well, what do you think I could write? And I started writing it down, and and she was telling about the self-talk and focusing on the positive stuff and appreciation. I would write it down, and then she realized, oh, and I told her, you already knew the answer. Most of us know our answers for all these things. We're just not ready to have it, or we need to hear it from somebody else. We can hear it from ourselves once we're ready for it. I hope you're ready for it. I wanted to ask you to give it a like if you liked it. Put a comment below. Ask me what you think. What do you think? What else do you think could be good for this? Thank you so much for watching, guys. And as always, I want you to grow and master your life.